Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the beautiful virtual Atlanta Motor Speedway as we get all set to go for tonight's coverage of the Northwest Truck Series. Live on LSR TV, I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Greg Rentz. Charles Wood is in the director's seat for what should be some exciting action. 215 miles, 140 laps on the docket tonight. First things first, Greg. Let's talk about this racetrack, one of the most difficult ones in tire fall-off in all of iRacing.
And the hot track temperature is going to make that even worse, Justin. This track, such an old racing surface, one of the oldest surfaces in NASCAR and on the iRacing server, that it just abrases the tires and just eats them up. And the track temperature of 112 degrees is going to make that tire wear even worse. Early in the run, these trucks are going to be fast, but once a couple of laps get on those tires, it is going to eat them up, and these trucks are going to be slipping and sliding all over the place. So I'm looking forward to seeing how these drivers adjust to this very abrasive track surface.
Many drivers already onto the circuit for qualifying. There was up to a second of fall off in 10 lap averages for many competitors, but many of these drivers are also looking for a bounce back. It was an interesting one for the anger management 250. Travis Barnes came away with the victory after starting on the pole and became the sixth winner in 6 races, Greg.
Yeah, it was one heck of a race at Bristol. 18 cautions, at that race at Bristol. A lot of cautions in the early stages. We did get one very solid green flag run through the middle of the race, but the cautions came back at the end. And I know the Northwest Truck Series officials are looking for a much cleaner race here at Atlanta. And honestly, I'm expecting it because Bristol, of course, it's a short track. Timbers are going to flare. This is a 1.5 mile oval track, so we're going to see some good racing, I believe, and we've got a very close qualifying session in the books already. Couple drivers within a tenth of each other at the top, Justin.
You see the times on the left side of your screen right now. The man you're following along with is your points leader entering tonight with a victory and 5 top 10s. Dan West Jr. 27 points ahead of Jeff Stabnow, Ryan Maines, Stephen Paulison, John Audenbacher rounding out the top 5 of the point standings. Those drivers, however, separated by just 34 points in distance in the championship standings. In other words, there's still the chance of a lot that can happen in that point system, especially third on down.
And it's going to be so much fun to watch that points battle develop throughout the course of the season, Justin, as there is a lot of racing still to go and some very diverse tracks on the schedule coming up. So I'm expecting a big shakeup in the points, not necessarily tonight per se, but over the next couple of weeks, just with the vast differences that the Truck Series is going to hit. That points battle is going to be very, very fun to watch it develop here over the next couple of weeks, starting tonight here at Atlanta.
Was looking back at the official statistics, only one of the drivers currently in the series has come away with the victory here in John Audenbacher. He's currently 15th in qualifying, while the 8 truck you're following along with, Gary Nichols, somehow found a way to blow up his truck coming towards the checker flag. Now, the reason you can potentially blow up is to remind fans who are watching for the first time, the Northwest Truck Series is an open setup series. The Cup Series that runs on Mondays is fixed series, meaning you can tape the truck all the way up for qualifying. That's the result usually if there's too much tape and depending on how hot it is in the air.
And with the hot track temp, that equals hot air temperature up in the mid 80s right now. So that's not surprising if you put a little bit too much tape on the grill. It only takes 3 or 4 laps for that thing to overheat. So not surprised that it may have taken even less here in Atlanta, because I mean, with the air temperature being so hot, full tape on the grill, not surprised at all to see these engines expire if someone's pushing it too hard. Maybe Nichols, I was looking at the top of the speed chart, Justin McClure. Maybe Gary Nichols waited on the end of pit road a little bit too long with his motor running, was trying to get a little extra heat in the motor and perhaps waited too long, and it just expired on the qualifying lap.
Is there a benefit actually to putting heat in the engine, though, technically, in these trucks, in your opinion?
I'm not sure what exactly the advantage would do. I know the drivers want it to start out cold, but I know with the tape on the grill, they want to get that aero push, but it also helps a little bit to have a little extra heat in the motor and not have your truck sitting too long. That's why for some instances you'll see drivers start the motor a little bit before a race. They don't want to go out with the track or the water temperatures ice cold, because that'll mess up the engine with the high performance that they're doing. But perhaps Gary Nichols waited just a hair too long on pit road there.
Looking at some of the drivers who are waiting to see what happens, the drivers have been informed that at 9 p.m. Pacific time, 12 a.m. Eastern time, green flag will drop for drivers to go to the grid, meaning you only have a few more minutes to go and qualify. Amongst the drivers who are getting ready to come onto the racetrack, Sean Breitzman, Chad Malik, amongst the competitors coming on. For Breitzman, he was one of the top drivers in 10-lap average stints in the final warm-up tonight. Breitzman amongst those drivers who have won at this circuit before. In fact, he won the last time this series was at this track.
And Sean Breitzman is also known for the gamble on pit road if things aren't necessarily going his way on the racetrack through the first half of the race. So with Breitzman, with him being near the top of the charts in practice, I'm wondering if he's going to be able to match that in qualifying. If not, I won't be surprised to see Breitzman pull the strategy card throughout the course of the race. He's on track right now, beginning his first of 2 qualifying laps. But Breitzman, one of those guys who's not afraid to think outside the box as the race wears on if things don't start off his way. We'll see how he does here in qualifying. He won the Cup race at Texas about a month ago, a track kind of a similar layout, a little bit different nowadays with the reconfiguration of that facility, but when that track initially came around, it was almost an identical twin to this track here in Hotlanta. So Breitzman knows how to get it done on the 1.5 miles. Did not get the good qualifying lap that he wanted on his first lap, 21st, the 31.037. So Breitzman definitely looking for a little bit more speed on the short run out of that 46 truck.
Yeah, he wasn't in the highest times in terms of short run. He finished with a second lap time of 30.587, 19th on the board. His teammate, though, he's still trying to come across the stripe. Jeff Stabnow was 17th the first time around. Second time around, bumps it up to a 31.94. That puts him in the top 5 in the dying stages of qualifying. Justin McClure currently on top of the board with a 31.12. Stephen O'Hare in second, followed by Dan West Jr., Tyler King in his second start of the season, and Stabnow rounds out that top 5 now, Greg.
And one guy I'm watching is the 44th, Tyler King. He made his debut with the Truck Series last week at Bristol, and before an incident dropped him to the pits and out of the race, he was having a very solid run, was up in the top 5 throughout the entirety of that race before his incident happened. And for someone making his series debut at a track such as Bristol, that's very impressive, and it looks to be following up once again here with a qualifying effort currently in the top 5 as we are in the waning seconds of this qualifying session. We will be getting ready to advance momentarily, but I'm keeping my eye on that 44 truck because he impressed me last week at Bristol. I'm looking for a good follow-up performance out of Tyler King.
We'll see how he does now in the 1.5 miles, which is very important in terms of consistency as a driver. But before we go to the grid in just about a few moments or so, your keys to victory tonight.
Tire conservation has to be the main key for this race. Yes, you have pit stops to change tires, but if you're using your tires up too early in the run, that is going to cost you dearly on the long run. You want to have the tires for the end of that run, especially if it comes down to a shootout, which we've seen a couple times in the Truck Series this year. You're going to want tires to be able to make it to the end of a run, and if we get a caution, you're going to want 4 Mr. Feelgoods every single chance. I don't think there's a chance that we see anybody on the 2-tire strategy. I think tires is the name of the game here today. Also, I think you're going to want track position. You can't go flying through the field like you can at some other tracks because of that tire conservation that you have.
To qualifying times for tonight's event, 23 total race trucks put in their quickest attempts to get the best track position possible In total, 7 trucks elected not to record times and start at the rear for tonight's event. Drivers now getting permission in the next couple moments or so to roll their trucks onto the starting grid for tonight's action. 140 laps, 215 miles from Hotlanta. Let's take a look at how these drivers will stack up tonight for what should be some exciting racing this evening. The pole sitter tonight is Justin McClure with O'Hare starting in second. Row 2 features Dan West Jr. and Tyler Kane. Row 3, Jeff Stabnell with a 30.194. Dylan Huffine starts in 6th. Dan Lowther in 7th with Carl Burke. The best driver on 10-lap average pace was in 8th. Steve Jennings starts in 9th. William Fletcher rounds out your top 10, Greg.
Travis McKinney will start off the second group of 10 in the 11th spot. 2 is outside. Homestead Miami winner Devin West with a new number, 16. He debuted that number last week in Bristol. Gary Nichols, new motor in the number 8 Chevy Silverado, will roll off on lucky 13 with Chad Malik, who has had a couple good runs in the truck series as of late, will roll off in the 14th spot. Ryan Maines, who impressed a lot of people at Bristol last week as well, with Bristol runner-up Casey Tillman looking to follow up. He will start in the 16th position in the new NWRB colors. Timothy Ricketts Jr. rolls off 17th. To his outside, Brett Johnson, who's returning to the truck series after a couple of weeks off, returned last week at Bristol. Sean Breisman, we talked about him in qualifying, rolls off in the 19th position. To the outside, the other LSR TV truck, John Ottenbacher, rolls off into 20th. Justin, who rounds out the field.
Well, James Vining put up a 30.768 at qualifying, 21st. Dana Rogers, 22nd. Rounding out the qualifiers was Stephen Paulson in 23rd. Then the rest of the field is on provisionals. At the back of the field, James Thurston, along with Corey Walters, Travis Barnes amongst the drivers who will start in the back, along with Ray Fournier, Tom Green, Frank Harris, along with Rick Heffley. Round out the 30 entrants tonight in total. Just about everyone has made their way onto the racetrack. To summarize once again, Atlanta Motor Speedway. This facility, 1.54 miles to be precise on the dot. 24 degrees of banking in the corners, straightaways 5 degrees of banking around this racetrack. Opened in 1960. Time of day, just past noon local time, PM, with the date, April 21st, 2020. Should be a great race today, Greg. Your final thoughts before the green flag.
I'm looking for a lot of jockeying for position in the early stages to try to get up into that track position that we talked about being so key here. I'm watching for drivers around 8th, 9th, 10th to really start making some moves in the early going to try to set themselves up for late in the run, Justin.
We'll see who can set themselves up the best tonight. Justin McClure in control of the field on the bottom side. O'Hare starts on the top side in the great PNW machine. iRacing official pace car all set to duck its way to the pit lane. Are you ready for a show from Hotlanta? These drivers are. Green flag is out. We're underway from Atlanta.
Good start for Justin McClure. Once again, that inside lane pays dividends so much on the initial starts as Dan West Jr. able to get a run inside of Stephen O'Hare, the Texas winner in the truck series, as Justin McClure leads the freight train off of turn number 2. Dan West Jr. trying to get it going on the inside as Jeff Stabnow moves up to help O'Hare.
The bottom line, the line you want to be at the start of this race, is as well as this race progresses. Dan West Jr. showing that right now. Jeff Stabnow already following soon as they're already spreading apart and getting single file just past this battle. Still side by side though into one. Better run off into the corner though for O'Hare. Problem is though, the more he stays up on the top line, the more he'll burn up the equipment, dropping to second this time, down the back nearly.
And he already burns up equipment so much here in Atlanta. Everybody does. The longer you're stuck on the outside, that's just going to make it even worse. As Jeff Stabnow now peeks to the inside as West is able to clear him. Bring Jeff Stabnow in the 24 up as well to challenge Stephen O'Hare. Remember, we saw this out of O'Hare, though, at Texas. He kind of hung out in the back a little bit in the early going before making a run later in the race and proved he was the fastest truck on the long run. It paid off. He's going to fall in line behind Stabnow in the 4th position. And it's a little ways back now to Tyler King. So Stephen O'Hare, starting on the outside front row, falls to 4th as the top 4 go single file now. Justin McClure with a little bit of a gap between himself and second West Dan West Jr.
Taking a look at his son Devin West in regards to Dan West Jr. He's currently already a +3 on the race, and he's coming in fast in his truck. Now trying to make work of Carl Burke, who allows the defense on the bottom side. Look at that, though. Devin West making the top line work to make the move.
And we mentioned before the race, look for some of those guys starting in that 8, 9, 10 bracket to start making some moves. Devin West started 12th. He just moved up into 8th. Devin West, the man on the move early. And looks like he read my mind as I wanted to see some guys around that bracket try to make some moves to get themselves into position. I knew there were some fast guys back there. Devin West saying, hey, I will lead the charge as far as that goes. He's up 4 spots already in the first 5 laps.
All the leaders right now single file at the moment. Still plenty of racing to go, though, very early on. The thought process, though, Greg, this is looking like, realistically, a 2-stop race. The reason we mentioned this, of course, longer distance, this is one of the races in the Road to Pro Series in 2020. Trouble, though, in turn 1 and 2. Huffines door-to-door contact with Nichols. Gary Nichols was put in the fence in the 8 truck. No caution flag, but the 8 truck, you see him in the backdrop, really hurt from contact in 1 and 2.
And that's not what Gary Nichols wanted to start the day off. And you can see right there, he is slowing down as Ottenbacher gets past him. He is suffering with that hit to the wall. It is going to mess up the aero and straightaway speed of that truck as he continues to fall. Not the start that Gary Nichols wanted, especially after losing the motor in practice. He wanted a shot at some redemption after that qualifying effort, and that's just going to, unfortunately, make it even worse for him. Looks like one driver is already pulled into the pits, though.
Oh, look at this, though, at the front here, Greg. Yes, indeed, Malik is done for the race, but Dan West Jr., he's not done the fight for the lead at the moment. On the outside line, McClure. Can he try and get the run? No, he's going to let him and Stabnow go to get back single file. New race leader, Dan West Jr. in the effective Web Solutions machine.
Are you at all surprised to see Dan West Jr. making a move to get to the lead here on lap 8? He is the points leader in the series and has been on a tear. Has been the dominant truck just about every single week. Unfortunately, just hasn't been able to put the finishes together that he's been looking for. Hasn't won a Truck Series race yet this season, I believe. Does have a win in the Cup Series, but the points leader having trouble cracking victory lane despite being the dominant truck so often in the series.
To check that, he did get the victory, by the way, Greg, at Rockingham in this series. That was at the Rockingham 180, one of the other RTP distance events in 2020. Here's the thing, though. It's easy to lead, but it's more difficult to keep said lead, so to speak, because the amount of draft you can get down these straightaways can allow many drivers to pull right on back to make it back and forth.
And Jeff Stabnow is making that work right now as he is right on the back bumper of Dan West Jr., putting all kinds of pressure in him in the rearview mirror, taking a peek inside as they went off into turn 3 and 4 there, but Dan West Jr. able to get the 55 truck rolling again through 3 and 4, but Stabnow again peaking low. Looks like Jeff Stabnow wants to make the inside lane work to try to get the lead here.
Will he try and make the move yet? Currently a 1/10 of a second back, was quicker by about a couple 100ths. Still keeping the pressure up on the veteran Dan West Jr. Times already have fallen off by nearly 6/10 plus of a second. But the Walls Beardco machine, he's got to run. Up the track goes West. Still able to hold on, though. Keeps his truck in front.
West doing a good job holding it, but Jeff Stabnow not going away. And he is putting all kinds of pressure on the back bumper of Dan West Jr. Watch him on the corner entry. That's where he seems to be making his move. West is able to keep him at bay. Oh, and a bobble from Justin McClure behind him. But there you see it once again. Jeff Stabnow kind of peeking low, going into the corner, trying to set up a move. Maybe not quite to his liking just yet as he's trying to wait for that perfect opportunity to make it work. He might be testing the waters, see, hey, is this the chance I've got? No, I'll back out of it. I'll try it again next corner. Very smart by Jeff Stabnow to kind of wait it out, test the waters, and wait for an opportunity to pounce.
Off the track this time, though, goes Stabnow. Might have clipped the apron a bit in 1 and 2. Loses a bit of momentum as he'll drop back a couple car lengths. But still, it's a 4-truck train, which has ran away by more than 3 seconds from the second group of drivers led by Devin West at the moment. This group once again reset in group number 2. Devin West, Stephen Jennings, Lowther, Burke, Maines, and by the way, that 46 truck is making moves as well.
And Sean Brightsman started in the 19th position, currently trying to get the 14th position from Casey Tillman. He will through turns 1 and 2. The LSR-TV Toyota Tundra trying to make some progress up through the field. He's done a great job getting through the field early, and we've seen Brightsman kind of hang back.
Trouble in 3 and 4. Steve Jennings nearly lost it in front of the field in the second group. Ended up getting contact, I think, a little bit maybe, but was able to save it in the 111 machine. No caution flag, we keep racing, and he falls right to Brightsman after getting some bad luck on the left rear.
Jennings had been up as high as 6th in the race. Now he's going to fall back into the clutches of Brightsman in the 13th spot. We take a look at the replay, Justin.
And keep an eye, there is a driver with technical issues around him, and was staying nice and focused, and as you can tell, there was a move trying to be attempted to the bottom side. That was Dan Lowther trying to make the move, and then around goes the 111. What a save to keep it off the rest of the field.
Great job by the 111 there of Steve Jennings. And Justin, with the kind of internet issues there, we saw blinking with the 85 of Lowther. Could some netcode have been involved in that?
Likelihood, potentially, let's just put it that way at that point, but still, there's plenty of racing to go. Lost a lot of track position, though. That's the downside for him, and now Brightsman is up in front of him. By the way, things have broken apart in that lead group big time. Dan West Jr. has put himself in a different gear. 0.3 of a second gain last time by. Justin McClure's up to second spot. Jeff Stabnow has dropped to third as all of this has gone on.
So Stabnow falling back. Justin McClure, the early race leader, trying to get back up there. And we saw when Stabnow clipped the apron a little bit ago, McClure was able to catch up. So McClure must have made it work. And Stabnow said, you know what? I'm going to save it and kind of hang back for a little bit. So I'm expecting that Stabnow has gone into tire conservation mode. We saw that the 24 truck definitely has speed and might be just hanging out for the next run of tires to make another shot at Dan West Jr.
Yeah, possibly. As we have a caution flag, so throw the tire saving out the window. It's big junk in turn 3. Drivers in the 20th position on back or so. Frank Harris, a few others involved. It's James Vining, though, that triggers it after getting stuck on the outside wall. It looked like that was Gary Nichols that got into a secondary incident trying to avoid Vining.
A tough break there. And this is not the start to the race that Gary Nichols wanted, because he already had the issue earlier getting into contact with Huff Fines, knocked him into the wall. He was a couple laps down, and now this to top it off. This is just not the day that Gary Nichols wanted in the number 8 truck.
By the way, there is, I should rather say, a fast repair available in this series, Greg. The reason he went 3 laps down is he came down the pit lane, forgot to use it. Came down again, used it. About 5-10 laps later, he's damaged again. Unfortunate for Nichols, now 3 laps down in the process, currently second to last overall on the pylon.
And the only truck behind him is Chad Malik, who is already retired from the race. Not sure what happened to the 6 of Chad Malik, who is having a lot of strong runs in this series over the last couple of weeks. So that's definitely a tough pill to swallow for the 6 of Chad Malik. So tough break for him. Gary Nichols, meanwhile, going to have his work cut out for him for the rest of the day.
Taking a look as everyone ducks down, a bit of a checkup for McClure, who nearly went side by side with Dan West Jr. But it's so vital to be able to enter your pit box the proper way. It looks like West Jr. able to get into his stall pretty quickly, about a couple tenths quicker than the other trucks around him, in good position already off the jacks.
Good move there by our leaders as they make their way off pit road. Stab now rolling, rest of the field going. Dan West Jr. gonna beat Justin McClure out. And look at the 3 wide drag race behind them there for the 3rd spot between Stab now, Stephen O'Hare, and Devin West. I don't know who came out on top there.
It was O'Hare who came up on top, I believe, in that battle, where Stabnow came out in 4th. Devin West, came home in 5th on that drag race. About some of the quickest pit stop times, Dan Lowther had a 14.1, was one of the quickest drivers in the pit lane, however, is still in P number 12. Still 119 laps to go, though, in this race, but this resets the strategy game, and still, it's a one-stopper on fuel from here.
And it's going to be a while before we can make that pit stop, unless we get another caution sometime in the next few laps, because every time that caution comes out, these drivers are going to come down for 4 fresh tires. They're going to be filling up on fuel as well. But if this race stays green the rest of the way, one more fuel stop. But I'm not so sure I expect this race to stay green the rest of the way, just because of how slippery this track is going to get the longer the run lasts. So I'm not exactly expecting this race to go green the rest of the way. I'm not expecting a repeat of what we saw last week in the Bristol race, but I don't think we're done with the yellows just yet.
I don't think so either, based on the trends we've seen in the past. But there is a team that is looking to the future, a new team specifically that has joined the series, so to speak, of some of the members who were a part of the series. Greg, why don't you tell us a little bit about that and about the new partnership that is a part of the series coming into this week?
Yeah, the Northwest Racing Boys, brand new team on the tour, started off with a bang last week. Travis Barnes getting the win at Bristol in an NWRB 1, 2, 3 as they crossed the line. Unfortunately, some penalties took that out of the window, but what a effort by the new team. The Northwest Racing Boys started out just as a thing that happened in a street stock race earlier, and some of the Northwest drivers that are in this race tonight decided, you know what, let's form our own team and let's just go out and race our tails off with these guys, and that's exactly what they've done. We have Dylan Huffines, Casey Tillman, and Travis Barnes didn't make the call for tonight's race, but those are the charter members of it in this race. Travis McKinney doesn't have this paint scheme on, but he is also a member of this new team. And I myself am also a proud member of this team with my Legends car racing in the official circuit on iRacing. But fun to see the new team out there right now and not having the race that they wanted so far, as Dylan Huffines kind of getting caught up in an incident. He's back in the 26th position after starting 6th. Casey Tillman is kind of hanging mid-pack right now, slowly making his way up. We saw the same thing in Bristol. Travis Barnes not making the call. So it's fun to see a new team out there, 1 for 1 on the season, but they got their work cut out for them today to try to make it 2 for 2.
Unfortunate in regards to Barnes, by the way, Greg, because he was one of the quickest drivers in practice. 30.066 was his time. Should note, in the early part of the session, there were some clouds over the track. Track has blistered its way up to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. One of the hottest points it's been so far today. Green flag is out. Dan West Jr. brings them off through the quad oval.
And there we see, once again, the inside lane, the advantage it has as he's able to get in front of Justin McClure. McClure, though, was able to get down in front of Stephen O'Hare in the 41 truck. And McClure gets a good run on the outside, though. Top 5 single file with West, McClure, O'Hare, Stabnow, and the younger West, Devin, rounding out the top 5 before we have our first side-by-side battle.
And that caution flag might have really helped Devin West the most out of anybody in the field, because he was one of the quickest trucks in the field. And remember, Dan West Jr., Devin West, of course, related, likely running a similar type of setup, meaning the truck is very fast. It's the matter, though, of closing on in. Trouble, though, off the corner. Hard hit on the inside. It's Justin McClure. No caution flag, but one of the fastest trucks all day. The 10 of McClure with severe back end and left side damage.
That's your pole sitter, Justin McClure in the 10, the early race leader, shooting off into the infield after, I believe, some contact, as he has a lot of damage to the rear of his truck. Here we see the replay. Even right there, tracking down with Dan West Jr. He gets a good run going into turn 1 there, Justin. But let's see what happens here off turn 2. Oh, he just slides and O'Hare finishes him off. Tough break.
And it's so easy to get loose here with how hot the track is and how little grip there can be at this abrasive racetrack. And that's the results right there. Now it's going to be also concerned, though, for O'Hare since his front nose is completely crushed in.
That's a tough break for Stephen O'Hare in the 41 because he was another truck that was so strong. We mentioned McClure being strong. I believe, I'm not 100% certain, but I believe he may be an unofficial alliance to that new Northwest Racing Boys team that we were talking about. I believe he's on the same setup as the likes of Huffines and Tillman and Barnes and those guys, so I believe he is there. But Stephen O'Hare, another fast truck. We know he's got some speed under that 41 truck, but that's unfortunate that he now has to fight the rest of at least this run with the damage there. And you know he's hoping for a caution. He might get one. There's just trouble behind him.
Steve Jennings gets clipped again in the 111 machine. No caution flag. Again saves it, but this time got some mega help from Timothy Ricketts. Everybody trying to Jimothy Cricket their way past him. My goodness, he's had some bad luck in this race.
What a tough break for Steve Jennings. He's in the 111 that you see there. Similar paint scheme on the 11 of Frank Harris. Steve Jennings, the one we're talking about, is in the 11, and just such a tough break for him. He has some speed in that truck. We saw it 2 weeks ago when he made his debut at Homestead. He sat on top of the practice charts. Just the races just haven't quite gone his way this season so far, Justin, as he has really struggled to put a complete race together. And you know it's coming for him because he has a lot of speed in that 111 truck. And as soon as he gets it or is able to put a full race together, look out for that 111 truck. I'm calling it now.
All the way back in 20th position, though, because of that contact we just referred to. By the way, one of the drivers who came down a second time during the caution flag is that 2 truck from 17th position. He's right back to where he would have been if he went around behind the pace truck. But James Thurston, slowly but surely, coming back up through the field with some decent pace.
He's coming up through the field, but we were talking about Stephen O'Hare in the 41 and the damage, and he decided, you know what, not worth it. I'm going to pull in and use my fast repair right now. The 41 truck gave up the top 5 position to come down and use that fast repair to get that truck back out there. He's minus 1 lap right now in the 41 truck. Long way to go, but fortunately for him, there is a long way to go. Still over 100 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, so plenty of time for O'Hare to get himself back into the mix of things.
Still plenty of time, absolutely, but still a lot of drivers scrapping. This is for 4th position. Brett Johnson looking to move into the top 5. Yes, Tyler King gives him the space. And this is where a lot of the strengths come in for open setup builders. If you can build a good truck, you might have good pace. Speaking of trucks, there was one stuck against the wall, and off in the grass is King because of the truck against the wall.
Tough break here for Tyler King, trying to get things going.
That was Dylan Huffines who got hooked to the outside wall. Keep in mind the 5 truck had severe damage and accidentally just hooked his right front tire with a broken suspension into the wall. And keep an eye here, Greg, on turn 3. That's where Tyler gets a bit of a shock.
So there we see, I believe that's the 5 of Huffines up against the wall. Yes, it is. And yeah, Dylan comes down. And unfortunately, that truck just snapped off the wall. And it was right in front of Tyler King. That's just unfortunate for Tyler King because he just had nowhere to go. He's just there minding his own business, riding around near the top 5. And all of a sudden, there's a truck in his way. And it's Dylan Huffines. And that's a tough break for Tyler King. Is now he's got some damage. And he's trying to settle things down and make it to the end of this run.
Devin West, meanwhile, is still holding firm in the second group, just like he was on the first run of the race. However, it's only 2 seconds back of his dad, Dan West Jr. Jeff Stabnell is still a second behind that. Both the West trucks, though, are fast tonight. It's been pretty clear.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier the setup builders. Typically, the West family each try to run a different but similar setup to each other. Dan will run one, and Devin will run one. I kind of was able to chat a little bit with Dan a couple of weeks ago, and he said that that's usually how they operate. They usually come up with two setups, and sometimes they'll run the same one, but usually Dan will run one and Devin will run one, and they'll kind of compare notes throughout the course of the race, and of course in the week leading up. So have to imagine they're both on very, very similar setups right now, but Devin didn't really have a good qualifying lap as he started in the 12th position, but looks like the setup that he chose to run is very fast in the race term because he is already up 9 positions to the 12th spot. So Devin West is showing some speed in the 16 truck, but Dan West Jr. looks like the setup that he chose is fast both in qualifying and in race trim.
Taking a look at the biggest movers so far, and there's a lot of green inside the top 10. Let's put it that way. Many of the drivers who did not start in the top 10 have quickly migrated their way in that direction. Devin West, amongst those drivers, Brett Johnson, Ryan Maines, Timothy Ricketts Jr., all did not start in the top 10. By the way, there's also a purple truck in Sean Breitzman that snuck into the top 10 as this has all gone along as well. So lots of drivers have shown they've got good speed in race trim. Q trim, not as much, yes. But the race trim is what pays out the points in the end.
And how about Brett Johnson? He's up 13 spots in the number 7 Coca-Cola truck as he's rolling around right now. The number 7 Chevy with Coca-Cola on the hood, up 13 spots. A little bit of a bobble from him there going into turn 3 there. But how about that from Brett Johnson? Started off in the 18th position. He has just cracked the top 5. He's been kind of in and out of the top 5 a couple of times as he was up in that battle with Steve Jennings earlier, in which almost led to Jennings having a problem. Jennings had the problem a little bit after, and he is right there on the back bumper of Fletcher and Devin West, and Stabnow right up there in front of the mix as well. This is 2nd through 6th, all in the line right now, about 2 seconds off of Dan West Jr., but I'm impressed with the 7 of Brett Johnson. He's up 13 spots, having a great race so far. And going back to what you mentioned about race trim and qualifying trim, some of these guys have their own separate setup for qualifying, then they switch back over to the race trim. Brett Johnson, I believe he's one of those guys who went with the race trim in qualifying because he was comfortable with it. It might not have gotten the qualifying speed necessarily, but he knew what the truck had on the long run, so I'm thinking he might have just went with the race trim qualifying setup instead.
Yeah. And sometimes that all comes down to driver preference in terms of how you want the truck to handle in a specific situation. You want to be comfortable. Let's put it that way. Jeff Stabnow, though, he's about to get uncomfortable, Greg. He's lost about a second in the past 5 laps. He is about a 1/10 of a second slower than the drivers in behind him. 2/10 of a second slower the past 10 laps to the leader, as you see on the bottom.
And we saw this on the last run. Around this time of the run, Stabnow was really strong in the opening stages of the run, but we saw last run that he kind of lost touch with the lead group a little bit. He was able to catch a caution not long after he started losing touch, but we're seeing it again here, so perhaps the 24 using a setup that might not be as strong on the long run. And Justin, I'm looking through the field. We didn't notice it at first. A very noticeable driver missing from this field tonight. Jeff Stabnow's teammate, Mark Walls, as the caution comes out. More on that later as the caution is out.
And it's Justin McClure. On his own, brings out the caution flag. Wow.
Just lost it off of turn 2 and just nosedived into the wall. That was a shock to the custom fab Toyota.
Remember, he had an incident off of turn 2 where he got loose as well. And now gets loose again, so now the engine expired on the 10 machine, so that's not a good situation for McClure, who does not have good position, and it's now a lap down on the circuit. On the bright side for O'Hare, who was involved in the first incident, the 41's the lucky dog.
And this is what he wanted. He wanted to try to get himself back onto the lead lap, and this is exactly what he will get, and a chance at some 4 fresh tires. We know how fast the 41 truck is. I'm going to be watching for the Great Pacific Northwest entry to make some moves here in the early stages of this green flag run. With the fresh truck, he came in, got the truck fixed. He's a lap down. He's getting the lucky dog here. Watch for that 41 truck to make a lot of noise.
And a longest line penalty, by the way, as well. Keep in mind there is a 14-point incident limit for the series, and that is a massive advantage for West Jr. in the pit lane. What in the world? 4 miles an hour slower for Stabnow in the lane.
Wondering if Stabnow was just slowing it down because he might have been, or might have realized he was coming in a little bit too hot and had to slow down.
He ran at 45, 46 miles an hour. The pit road speed limit is 50.
Not sure what the situation is there on the 24, but it might cost him as Devin West is able to get out in front of him, as well as a host of other trucks. So Jeff Stabnow losing a couple of spots here. Looks like he lost 3 positions there. He came in second. He's going to go back out where he started the race in 5th.
I think that might almost be a brain fade, almost like, again, because 5 miles an hour slower the whole entire lane, and now pays the price with losing some positions on the pit lane as well. Not a good sequence. 2 seconds slower in the stall, give or take, for Jeff Stabnow. Allows Devin West, William Fletcher, Brett Johnson to all move ahead of him. By the way, this time by McClure should be coming down to take his fast repair. That's why you see the puffs of smoke on the bottom line off of 4.
Yeah, he was able to pull in and get enough damage repaired that he didn't have to use the fast repair. Now he's pulling in to try to get the rest of it fixed up in that 41 truck. Dylan Huffines also on pit road, 4 laps down, having a tough day in the number 5 truck. And he was so looking forward to this race after being so close to winning at Bristol last week before getting caught up in that accident on the last lap. He was able to finish the race sideways and beating and banging. It kind of looked like Joey Logano and Martin Truex Jr. in Martinsville back to a couple years ago, what we know now as the Dang War race. But it looked kind of like that at Bristol. But Huffines was looking for a bounce back tonight, and this is unfortunately not the way he wanted it to go. 4 now, I believe, 5 laps down if he stays on pit road much longer. Not sure if he will or not, but I know that 5 truck has had quite a bit of damage throughout the course of the race.
Tough showing, unfortunately, for Huffines after showing some good speed throughout the preparation and warm-ups tonight. By the way, to reset your top 10, Dan West Jr. is in the lead. Devin West is in second. William Fletcher, Brett Johnson, Jeff Stabnow at the top 5. Ryan Maines in 6th. Sean Breitzman now a plus 12 from the drop of the green flag in 7th. Carl Burke, Casey Tillman, Timothy Ricketts rounds out your top 10 at the moment. Coming in 95 laps to go. Some of the main keys at this point continue to change and kind of circle around the wagon, so to speak. Now it's a West 1-2 in the race.
And how many times have we seen this in this young Northwest Racing Series season? Ever since Devin joined the series this season, he has proven that the apple didn't fall far from the tree as far as racing ability here on the iRacing server with Devin West as opposed to Dan West Jr. And Devin was one of the top drivers in the Northwest, in the Legends circuit here in the Northwest that tracks around Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. Devin West, for a couple of years, was the top dog. If he showed up to a race, he knew that it was pretty much a battle for second because he knew he was going to be able to park it. Has since left the asphalt world. He has been running dirt modifieds for the last year in the Northwest. So this is really kind of a return to the pavement for Devin. So it's good to see him back here on the pavement, and he's showing that he's got just as much speed here as he did in the Legend cars, as he's up in the 2nd spot now, looking for win number 2 on the season.
Both the Wests get all set to go. It's a West Racing 1-2 coming to 94 laps to go. The effective Web Solutions machine on the bottom side. The 16 watches as Dan West Jr. brings them back to the green flag. Another terrific start for the 55.
That inside lane just pays so much dividends. We've mentioned it time and time again through the course of the season with this series. The inside lane just so much of an advantage on the initial restarts of this series. But Devin able to get down in front of the 28 of William Fletcher, who's having a pretty solid night in the 28 truck right now, up in the 3rd spot. But right now, we've seen this a couple of times this season. Dan West Jr., Devin West, top 2, West Family Racing.
Everyone's still single filed out for the most part. Brightsman did try and make an attack on Ryan Maines. That's why it's a bit more separation. 5th on back throughout 3 and 4. But still just can't get a run on that very chrome-colored Armor All machine. Brightsman, though, you have to give credit, has been cutting through the field and taking advantage of each and every one of these caution flags to gain track position.
And he hasn't really been doing it all at once. He's been very patient. He's been picking his moment one at a time, which in a situation like that, when you're starting in the 19th position, very, very smart moves by Brightsman. Waiting for his moment, letting the driver in front of him make the mistake to set it up. Brightsman has been so good at showing patience through this one.
Absolutely. Speaking, though, of aggression, Brett Johnson. Move him to P4. William Fletcher lets him on go on the bottom side of the Villa in Tabard machine. So there's the pace from Johnson showing up once more.
And Johnson getting another spot back in the 4th spot. Fletcher was up in the 3rd spot, so both Stabnow and Johnson were able to get going. I wonder if Fletcher may have caught the apron with the nose a little bit in turn 3. That allowed both Stabnow and Johnson to get past him as he was up in the 3rd spot, now back to 5th. Wondering if something happened going into this corner here last time around that caused that.
The reason he dropped back from Jeff Stabnow and co. Let Stabnow go in turn 3, then had to let by Brent Johnson. Now, Ryan Maines is closing in quickly. The pace comparison 2/10 plus off to the top 4 drivers in front of him. At that point, as a driver, do you just let him go knowing you might not be in the same ballpark of the short run and try and conserve your equipment for the mid to long run where your setup might really come in?
That's what I would do if I was in that situation. I know when I'm racing in my legend races that if I know that a guy is faster than me, I typically try to let him go early in the run and not try to race him and cause a situation that takes us both out. If I'm in the situation where my equipment's not exactly keeping up with the guys in front of him, or I'm holding up a guy behind him, I'll typically just let him go, say, hey, you're faster than me. I'm not going to be the reason that both of us are out of the race. Just go ahead and not worry about me, and I'll see if I can get something fixed and get myself back in there later.
Side-by-side battle. This is for 8th position. Timothy Ricketts having a very stellar run. This opens up the door, though, for Carl Burke, who's been quietly running throughout the race in the top 10 in that 53 red, black, and goldish Pennzoil truck. And keep in mind, that is a strong long-run truck for this event tonight.
Yeah, an interesting color scheme with the Pennzoil sponsorship. We're so used to seeing Pennzoil chalked up with black and yellow, so it's kind of cool to see the different look for the Pennzoil colors here this series with Carl Burke. He's had this color for the last couple of races, and I want to give a shout out also to Timothy Ricketts. He's up 9 positions. I failed math many a time, but Timothy Ricketts, he's been quietly putting together better and better runs each week since joining the series a few weeks ago. I believe he joined in Homestead and has quietly been putting better and better runs together, and here he is sitting in the 8th position.
It's his 3rd start of the season for people wondering. He finished in 20th at Homestead, however, finished in 30th at Bristol. Taking a look back, though, at Devin West, Jeff Stabnow, he's coming slowly but surely. Was a couple 100s quicker last time by, and right now they're 2/10 quicker. All 3 of these trucks up in the front by about 2/10 to Brett Johnson.
And Devin West is not letting his father get away. And I'm noticing West is taking the lower line. Devin West, that is. I just realized that they're both last name West. But Devin was taking the lower line through the trioval there, but took a higher line in the turn 1 there, Justin. So Devin West, what he's doing right now, he's hunting. He's trying to figure out where he's quicker than his father to try to set him up for a move. As there, he follows him pretty much identically in his tire tracks in the turn 3 there. But Devin is trying different stuff than what what his father's doing, trying to maybe set up a pass here and figuring out where he's better than Dan, where Dan's better than him, to where he can set up his move to try to take the lead.
And don't forget, too, he's having to deal with aero push by trying to fall in the tire tracks as well. Dan West Jr. has the cleanest air on the circuit. Majority of these competitors have to deal with the potential of aero push, or pushing or aero slickness in some cases.
And that's why clean air, you hear so many drivers talk about it to the point of redundancy. It's a very, very valid thing here in iRacing. The aero push that you get when you're stuck behind someone is very, very important, and is so sensitive here on these larger scale tracks, the 1.5 miles, your 2 mile ovals, even your bigger tracks, your Poconos, your Daytonas, your Talladega. Clean air is so important here in this style of racing that if you get out front, you almost can just ride around and not worry about the truck behind you unless they're exponentially quicker than you, just because of that aero push they get when they're riding behind you.
Absolutely. Still coming to 81 laps to go this upcoming time by. As you take a look at the fight, this is fifth on back. Maines and Fletcher continuing to roll on around. By the way of note, James Vining now entering the DNF list. He is the second driver to pull off tonight. Remember, was involved in one of the incidents about 10-20 laps to go. Give credit again to Maines, though, in the Armor All machine. Was around the mid to bottom pack in practice early on. Has kind of picked up the pace now that it's showtime, so to speak. Unfortunately, truck nearly picked up off the racing line.
The Maines has been quietly putting together good runs the last few weeks, just hasn't had the finishes to back that up. But another good, solid run for Ryan Maines. He started in the 15th spot. He's up 10 positions. He just cracked the top 5 as he was able to get around William Fletcher in the 28, trying to track down Brett Johnson. Two of the biggest movers so far today. Ryan Maines and Brett Johnson, 4th and 5th right now. Maines in that very chrome Armor All truck, which you mentioned earlier, shiny out on the track, but it's shining on the scoreboard right now, up 10 positions.
Very beautiful truck at this point. Casey Tillman, though, while he's gained positions from his qualifying spot on the grid, it's kind of been tough sledding at points for that 92 truck. Seems like on the short run, he continues to lose the bottom, and now he's trying to fight for the top 10. Corey Walters allowing him tons of space to go on by on the bottom side. It's kind of almost been running in place on a treadmill all race.
And Tillman was up as high as, I believe, 7th earlier in the race. But like you mentioned, the short run speed just not there for the number 92. And he had such a strong run at Bristol last week, getting up in the mix for the win. Led some laps late in the going at Bristol, hoping for a good follow-up race. But the short run speed just not there for him, as we see him taking a higher line through 3 and 4 than most trucks are before he dives down to the bottom in turn number 4, as he's back into the top 10 now. He was up again, I believe, as high as 7th before that restart happened. So Tillman's truck looks like it takes him about, would you say, 10, 15 laps to settle in before it starts getting to where he likes it?
I think that might be a good assumption, absolutely. He's still about a 10th off the race leaders, but if Slonti can get into rhythm right here, he might be in decent shape. Look what's going on just behind them, though. You might have noticed the 9 truck lane by an air machine. That's James Thurston, who has the most fuel of the lead lap cars. Remember, topped off and went to the back of the field voluntarily during the last caution flag. He's now up to 11th position.
Yeah, great run for James Thurston. Started 24th up to 11th, making some progress now, trying to track down Casey Tillman to send Tillman back outside the top 10 and get himself into the top 10 for the first time tonight. Good run for James Thurston so far, and not really surprised that we are seeing another comer and goer in this race, but what a run for Thurston, like you mentioned there, as about breaking out in front of him, though, between Ricketts and Brightsman, and Tillman getting back there as well. So Brightsman perhaps now beginning to struggle a little bit as he loses the spot to Ricketts, now going to lose the spot to Tillman, and James Thurston coming as well. Looks like maybe a little bit of damage to the right front of the 46, or am I seeing things?
It is damage because Brightsman last time by, about a lap and a half ago rather, took the corner exit too strong off at turn 2, got stuck on the backstretch wall, damaged the right front, and that has then allowed everybody else to close in and make passes. So there goes the long run speed now with a 46. Going to have to really deal with that down the straightaways, because if you get any sort of major aerodynamic damage on the truck, you are 5-10 miles an hour potentially off the pace.
You know, Brightsman's going to want a caution. He wants one now because he does not want to have to work on this truck under green. That's going to slow him down on pit road. So you know he wants a caution, and he wants one now.
They are still about, realistically, 8 to 10 laps away from the green light to make it on fuel. The matter, though, is when you come in for tires. Right now, it might be a situation where we talked about Brightsman known for risks. He might be forced to take a risk now.
And Brightsman, you mentioned it, he's known to take risks. He's usually the one in the series to take the risk. This might have forced his hand to put him in that, and that's unfortunate because he was having such a run that he didn't really need to make a risk at the rate he was going, but now he might have to as he continues to lose positions. That's Justin McClure, who I believe used his fast repair, but is several laps down to get around him. Now Corey Walters coming up. Here comes John Ottenbacher in the matching 89 truck, albeit green. And Stephen Paulson there as well. Sorry, James Paulson is a driver in another series that I announced. Very similar last name, but yeah, Brightsman's struggling right now with that 46 car. Do you think he might be forced to short pit here?
That's why I brought up the potential of the risk, Greg. He might have to.
And I won't be surprised if he does, if he can get down to the bottom, as he's been stuck on the high side. Walters took a little bit extra time to get around him there, and unfortunately for Brightsman, he's still stuck on the high side. He might not even be able to hold the bottom right now with damage to that 46 truck. So
Brightsman in a very tough situation. All his track position he had gained going to naught. He was the fastest truck on the circuit before he slammed the outside wall down the back straightaway about 5 laps ago. Now he's one of the slowest by a good 2 to 3 tenths a lap. Ottenbacher now using him as a pick right now to set up a pass on Paulson. Also keep in mind the 41 truck of O'Hare looking to recover positions, taking advantage of this as well. So 70 laps to go from Atlanta, and it looks like Brightsman might have tapped the wall a little bit more.
Yeah, I saw that off turn number 4. I believe he did catch the wall again, and that drops into the 15th spot into the clutches of Dan Lather. Still having those connection issues, though, on the 85 truck. So Sean Brightsman, a good day going to bad here, but as he gets up to the wall again, and unfortunately for him, he's been stuck on the outside through 3 and 4 almost every time. So even if he wanted to come down pit road, he just hasn't had the chance to, because it seems like every time he's come off turn number 4, he's had a truck to his inside.
Yeah, there's a long ways actually for some space for the most part. Yes, it may look like at the moment he does have a bit of a clearing, but again, with the straight line differential, that gap is going to close in rapidly between him and the next trucks behind. Now he's all the way outside the top 15 in 16th spot on the racetrack. By the way, the lead group has tightened up to 5 trucks as this has gone on. One of the new fastest trucks on the circuit outside of Dan West Jr. and Devin West, Brett Johnson, who is currently trying to find a way past Stabnell.
And William Fletcher got back around Ryan Maines and has pulled away from Ryan Maines. Perhaps Ryan Maines might have caught the wall as well, as he is way back when he was hanging in there with Brett Johnson earlier. Now Fletcher is the one hanging with Brett Johnson. So a change up there in the top 5 in Fletcher. And now we're starting to see it. So maybe the long run speed is where that 28 truck is strong. And we mentioned earlier that he might have been struggling on the short run. Looks like that may be the case, as the longer this run has gone, William Fletcher is able to reel back up to this group.
Pit stop underway. You see it on the left side pylon. Tyler Kane has just opened up the undercut window. Remember, he was one of the drivers who is snake bitten, let's put it that way, after contact down the back straightaway into turn 3 on that right front. has a chance to take service, doesn't take the faster pair just in case he's taking the undercut as well as a couple others who are in the back part of the field.
Yeah, so some trucks near the back just trying, you know what, if I can get a lap of advantage on the leaders and try to get myself up into a position that I can gain just a little bit more ground on these guys, I'm going to. So that may be what we're seeing here, as it looks like one truck near the top 5. Nope, I was watching William Fletcher. It looked like he may have been slowing down for pit entry, but not to be just yet. But do you think you're going to need to see some guys closer to like the top 10 before the leaders start thinking about it?
I would think more realistically, Greg, the top 5 at this point might be the factor for those lead cars. If you have any of those drivers dug down, there's a chance they can gain a massive advantage. Remember, the amount of fall off, nearly 2 seconds. So that's the amount of time per lap you'd be gaining on the circuit if you were to duck down. You also don't want to get into a situation where you have so old tires you can't defend by the time they reel you back in. Speaking of reeling in, Ryan Mange, you talked about the pace falling off. He's been reeled in by 7th on back.
So Ryan Maines, something has definitely soured on the 13 truck, because he was up as high as 5th earlier in the race, but he has lost touch with the leaders and now has fallen into the clutches of Carl Burke and Casey Tillman. So the 13 truck definitely had such a strong run going, but something, not sure what happened as we were so focused on the 46 of Breitzman and the developments there, that something happened in the 13 truck that has caused a very, very similar situation.
It almost looks like, see that little tiny bobble there, it almost looks like he might have burned the right rear off and is having to be so careful. Trouble behind him. Carl Burke, Casey Tillman, caution flag is out, and this changes the window big time.
And now you're going to get everybody on the pit road at once, and that's a tough break, as Burke and Tillman both able to get going there. Once again, we were looking at the 13 of Maines, and just right behind them, coming down the backstretch. We'll see it here in about half a lap on the LSR TV replay, as here you see them crossing the finish line. So, Justin, what'd you see here as they go through 1 and 2 here on the replay? What'd you see between the 53 and the 92?
Well, it is a hot racetrack here, Greg, but take a look at this. It almost looked like Tillman went for the move and just snapped.
Yeah, just made a move, pulled out, and unfortunately the truck just got away from him there, and Burke was right in the danger zone. That's a tough break.
Take a look at this on board, and the reason it looked like it snapped is it is a possibility at this racetrack where if you pull out too quickly, you can absolutely get loose in the middle of a straightaway in Atlanta.
We see it right there. He had to check up there through 1 and 2. Yep, that looks like that's exactly what happened. Tried to make the move, and it just snapped back around on him.
So unfortunate for him and Carl Burke. Both get collected. That was in the battle for 7th position on the track. Everyone has ducked down to the lane for the most part, except for a couple. Corey Walters, who's in the grass. Travis McKinney, who stayed on extra time. So Walters not having the best of time. He did miss his pit box.
Well, one guy who made it work, Jeff Stabnow, the 24, able to beat both the Wests off pit road. We have a new race leader up at the top of the boards. It's truck 24. Jeff Stabnow got the lead off the race off pit road there.
So Stabnow, the first driver on 4 tires to pull off and away. So trying to double check the situation for McKinney. Remember, the pit window was just open. And for McKinney, right now on time and scoring, does have him listed as a 2-tire stop. Now, should note, the window was open, and I believe McKinney is in a situation where he'll have to come down. Yes, indeed, will sacrifice the lead. Corey Walters, again, missed his pit box. Stabnow is indeed the race leader. Now it's the matter, though, Greg, can Jeff hold on to it in clean air?
And we've seen that the truck has been good on the short run, but seems to fall off on the long run. But he hasn't had that clean air yet, as he's been kind of mired behind traffic, and that arrow push really starts to develop on him, and he loses touch with the truck in front of him. So we'll see if the clean air pays any extra advantage to the 24 truck. We know it has for the 55 of Dan West Jr., who has led a majority of this race after Justin McClure led the early stages of it. First time all day Jeff Stabnow has been up in the lead. We'll see if the clean air pays off.
Still behind the pace truck. The drivers you see up in front preparing for waves are amongst the competitors who tried that short pit strategy we talked about. Heffley, King, and then you have Nichols, who was multiple laps down trying to get the wave around. That caution flag and the timing really burned them. For others, it was a blessing in disguise for, say, Brightsman, who is now able to get a lot of that damage fixed. Looks like he might not have used the fast repair. That's why he went down a second time. You see a bit of the crinkle you might have noticed on the right side. He's kept his fast repair in case there's more trouble.
So Brightsman, kind of a smart strategy there. Just hang out on pit road, wait as long as you can to get damage fixed, and then pull out so you can stay on the lead lap and save that fast repair. You figure you're going to drop to the back anyway. Might as well hang on to the fast repair if you can. Have another update. While he has not officially retired from the race, it sounds like Dylan Huffines is done for the day, as he's been sitting on pit road for about the last 10 laps or so. Just sitting on pit road. Has not officially retired, but from the sounds of it, the 5 truck may be done for the day. He just has yet to bring it behind the wall.
Yeah, he came down during the green flag run about 5-10 laps before the green light to make it on fuel, pardon me. Fortunate for him today with some of the luck. But Jeff Stabnow is your leader. Dan West Jr.'s in second. Maines, Johnson, Ottenbacher, Devin West, O'Hare, Ricketts, Paulison, Lowther round out your top 10 starting positions. Question's going to be, how well does this 24 launch in the Waltz Beard Co. machine? We're about to get that answer.
See the inside lane pace so strong here at Atlanta all day long, but for the first time a driver not named Dan West Jr. has it on a restart. Justin McClure had it on the initial start. We'll see what it does for Stabnow. Looks like about the same as he leads him off into turn 1.
Good launch for Stabnow already 2-3 truck lengths ahead. The fight continues for third though. Brett Johnson with the preferred line. Ryan Maines with the freight train underneath. Around goes Devin West. Here comes O'Hare looking to also take advantage.
I would love to see what the right rear tire on Ryan Maines looked like at the end of that run, because that's what we believe might have happened to the 13 truck, as he was up there in the 3rd position on that restart. Unfortunately, he gets shuffled back, and he's going to be outside the top 5 once this is all over in the 6th spot. But we know the 13 has a lot of speed in the early stages of a run, so this might not be a disaster for him just yet. But how about Stephen O'Hare back up in the top 5 after everything that's happened to him?
Absolutely. He showed great pace in the early going of this race, had bad luck after the incident with the 10 truck of Justin McClure, and now is back in the picture. Johnson lost a lot of time, though, in the past lap because he tried to pass West Jr. Devin West trying to make him pay for it. The Chevrolet Silverado to the inside of the Coca-Cola truck, and Johnson just lets him have it.
Devin West has shown so much speed in both the Cup Series and the Truck Series, showing that just because he's a rookie, he is a West after all, and he's going to make noise in the Northwest Series, as Dylan Huffines has officially retired from the race. He has brought the 5 truck behind the wall. Battle rages on for 3rd as West has been able to clear Brett Johnson, but Johnson not going away just yet.
This is not over for sure, especially on the short run from what we've seen here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. West, though, has been so good on quarter entry all race long. Gains a little bit more time on Johnson. O'Hare with a little bit of a bubble up the racetrack that time by through turn 2. This is all allowed West Jr. to run away by half a second.
West Jr. pulled away, but not gaining much ground on Jeff Stabnow, the race leader. The Walls Beard Co. Chevy pulling away right now as he leads the way. First laps he's led in a while here in the Truck Series, but Dan West Jr. does appear to now be reeling him in as he shaved 0.2 of a second off that time. Stabnow leading the way, and he's got the clean air right now, and he's hoping that once the 55 of Dan West Jr. closes in, which it looks like he is getting to that point, the arrow push is going to start developing on the 55, and he can kind of feel what Stabnow was feeling earlier in the run.
For Jeff Stabnow, by the way, he's one of the top drivers in the history of the series. 14 victories, third all-time, as well as third all-time laps led. Speaking, though, of battles going on, Jennings, he's now trying to find his way back up to the field. He does still have his left front, left rear, and right rear damage to deal with. And that means drivers are trying to take advantage with the straight line speed.
Yeah, we're seeing it all over this racetrack right now. The straightaway speed is there, but once they get into the corner, the runs tend to go away as you see the battle going on here throughout the course of the race field. Here we see a couple of chrome trucks, the 111 and the 11 Dan Lowther back there as well. Good battle going on here mid-pack.
Let me put it this way. The 111 truck of Jennings was 5 miles an hour slower through the quad oval the past time by. You're not going to be able to keep up even off the straightaway or at the end of the straightaways, even with how you take the corners on the preferred line on the bottom side if you're that far off due to damage.
Yeah, he's hanging in there right now with Frank Harris. Appears to be his teammate, I would assume, perhaps just based off the similar paint schemes. Now falling under pressure from Dan Lowther. This is, again, the battle for 13th position right now as Lowther and James Thurston, who was up near the top 10 earlier, kind of got shuffled back there once again. Behind this, Sean Breitzman, who has quite a bit of the damage repaired. I don't know if he got necessarily all of it, but looks like he has enough to get that 46 truck back to where it's drivable for him.
By the way, the team you're referencing that Jennings is a part of is Da Vinci Racing. That involves drivers such as Harris on that order, Vining, Thomas Green, also Stephen Paulson amongst the drivers officially a part of that organization. Corey Walters, though, we've seen him a little bit. He's been floating around the top 10 all day today in that Hooters truck, but the lead up for grabs. Stabnow on the top side, Dan West Jr. back up to the point in 1 and 2.
Devin West and Brett Johnson have closed in as well as Dan West Jr. clears Stabnow. Stabnow perhaps looking for a crossover as I saw him peeking low. Yeah, he's peeking low once again. He's going to take a shot going into turn 3 as he's right on the bumper of Dan West Jr. through 3 and 4. The 24 getting a good run here. He's going to try the outside perhaps as he took a peek high, maybe trying to get the 55 off the bottom. West will lead the run, but it's Jeff Stabnow not going away just yet. He's going to try to get to the bottom. No, West shuts the door.
Had a little bit more speed. The thing is, though, it's easy to catch up. It's difficult to pass, and when you have nearly identical speeds down the straights, even with the draft, you don't want to just shove it into the square peg into a round hole. That's where you start trouble. Stabnow being very smart with trying to figure out if he can make a move here on this mid-run.
We saw the long run speed just not there on the 24 as opposed to the short run speed, so wondering if that played a role in how West Jr. was able to get up there. But Jeff Stabnow not necessarily going away. He's hanging in there with Dan West Jr., doing a great job using the draft to hang with Dan West Jr. They're actually beginning to pull back away from Devin West and Brett Johnson. Behind them, Ryan Maines has gotten back around Stephen O'Hara, so moved Maines back into the top 5. But kind of a two-car tango, if you will, almost. We saw this back in the days of Daytona and Talladega back in the early 2010s, but kind of weird seeing it here in Atlanta in the trucks.
Absolutely at this point, as you look at Maines right now, and what are some of the things your team does to try and differentiate, say, a short-run truck for a race compared to one a long-run truck?
Well, they're so young, we're still in the learning process of that. I know Travis Barnes and Dylan Huffines spent a lot of time turning laps on long run earlier in the week to try to get the truck to cooperate on the long run. I know Travis Barnes, Dylan Huffines, they were doing 20, 30 lap runs here at this track throughout the course of the week trying to set it up, as Jeff Stabnow took a peek inside of Dan West Jr. and didn't work out for him this time. But I know a lot of drivers were testing out long run speed as well, so not sure who all paid attention to the short run speed because they knew it might be long between cautions. We knew we were going to have some cautions, but I think most of the drivers focused on long run speed this week at least. here coming into Atlanta, but I know that's what we did, the NWRB, the Northwest Racing Boys, as the official name is. I know we focused on long run speed for this race throughout the course of the day. Unfortunately for them, it just didn't work out that way. As the battle breaks out for the third spot behind us, Justin, as Brett is able to get around Devin, so move Brett Johnson onto the podium.
So Brett Johnson on the move, and was just taking a walk towards some of the right fronts, because one of the main things that does factor in long run and short run pace is camber. Used to be where an open setup competition, you might max out the cambers. Your job is done for the camber side of things. Now, in the factor of testing and telemetry, if you find the right number, that means you'll be good on the short run, but even better on the long run. Johnson, Stabnow on similar sets. West Jr. not as sharp of a camber, should note, on the 55 truck that is leading up ahead of this group.
He's doing a good job hanging in there, though, as Stabnow took another peek, going low there off of turn number 2. West Jr. doing a good job keeping him at bay, though, but Jeff Stabnow is doing a great job not losing touch with him. He lost a little bit there on the backstretch, as the peak low may have been a little bit of a bobble instead, as he's hanging in there once again, getting the run back, using that draft to his advantage. I am so impressed right now with how Jeff Stabnow is hanging on to that 55 truck's back bumper, and they are pulling away from Brett and Devin. They are 1.3 seconds. Oh, I think Stabnow got the wall off turn 2 there.
Stabnow, bad corner exit, did keep it off the wall, just barely. Might have grazed the right rear. And he does confirm over the radio, he did slide the tires coming off the corner.
And that's going to eat up those tires just that much more. And unfortunately, at a track such as Atlanta, that is so key to have as little damage to the tires as you possibly can get, because the tire wear already falls off quickly here, especially it falls off on a normal day. It's 100 and something degrees on this track temperature. It's up to 127 degrees, Justin. This is just eating up those tires, and a bad slide is just going to make it worse.
Battle for third is also on just behind these drivers, by the way. Here comes the long run pace. Devin West able to get inside on Johnson. And once again, Johnson gives to him. Same time, O'Hare is in the middle of a fight side by side still with Maines. Maines is not giving it to him as easy. Took a bit of a bobble up the track, though, before that position changed hands.
So Maines putting the pressure on.
Oh, trouble back straight away. Timothy Ricketts is around in the 43. Hard contact with the inside safer barrier. After such a strong run, he gets loose off the corner. And what was a good run has turned into a bad result.
That's another tough break for him. Oh, man. Wow, what a job by William Fletcher to get through that. But Timothy Ricketts, a strong run, just goes by the wayside, unfortunately, just with a little bit of a bobble. And we're starting to see those tires just fall off more and more. And the track temp rising, not making that any better. And Ricketts, such a good run. Unfortunately, the Monster Energy entry that looks like it may be done for the day unless he can get that fast repair.
Might have that on bank, but the Rocket Racing Machine going to lose at least a lap minimum from having to come down during the green flag. 36 to go this time by, though. Coming to 105 laps started out of 140 total on the distance. And Dan West Jr., he's now the fastest truck on the racetrack. Again, the long run is coming in on the 55. A tenth of a second quicker last time. Gained some more time this time by another half a tenth.
He is so strong on the long run. We've seen it time and time again today. The 55 truck, once he gets rolling, he gets rolling. Jeff Stabnow not exactly going away, though. He's still hanging in there. But Dan West Jr. is showing that he definitely has quite a bit of long run speed under that number 55 as he's trying to pull away. Stabnow hanging in there, though, and I'm very impressed that Stabnow's been able to hang in there after that slide with the tires, as just didn't go his way there about 5-6 laps ago when that happened. I figured the tire damage to the 24 would have been more than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually was quicker the two trucks last time by. Here's the thing though, West Jr.'s in a situation where he just needs to maintain. He doesn't need to overexert his truck in the clean space. Just has to make sure the gap does not close as much. You see the differential between the times. They keep on bouncing a little bit back and forth on the pylon, but the gap is still 0.4 of a second. That's what West Jr. and Stabnow care most about.
So Stabnow hanging in there right now, and he's doing such a great job of keeping the 24 in that 2 spot that if we do get another caution and he's able to beat Dan West Jr. off pit road once again, this may be...
There's someone on the bottom of the racetrack, and a caution is out.
That was Dan Lowther. Right as I said, Stabnow may need another caution. He gets it. And Lowther, who's been having connection issues all day, he just bounced off, I believe, the 10 of McClure. Already a lot of damage on the 85 truck, so he may have caught the wall as a result of some of the connection issues as he just blinked for a second. It bounced off the wall right into the 10 truck.
And keep an eye right here. Keep on with this. He's still having the technical issues. He is off the racetrack, though. The reason the caution comes out, and watch about a moment after this, he's trying to get going. As soon as he gets going, because there's trucks around, bam, caution flag is out because he comes across the white line. Usually the caution doesn't come out if you're on the apron, and now it gets fairly interesting. He did have a fast repair. That's the bright side. The downside, now Dan West Jr.'s 4.5 of a second gap is gone.
And Jeff Stabnow is licking his chops right now because we know the 24 is strong on the short run.
Oh, and he bopped him.
Oh, he got him again, the money stop. And this is becoming something now as the driver's on pit road. Justin, do you think Stabnow meant to do that, or that was an accident?
No, that was definitely an accident, it seemed like. Just with how hard he was trying to hit the brakes there, both these drivers are now in a situation where they can take the fast repair. That's the bright side. They won't have that in the bank, though, if anything happens towards the front. So, who will come off the pit lane first is the question. Off and away is West Jr. Look at who moves up to second. Ray Fournier, he missed his box, though. So Jeff Stabnow does technically get the second spot still.
Yeah, Fournier's going to have to come back around and pit. There's no way that you're going to be able to make it to the finish of this race on those tires that you have right now. He's going to have to come in and change them. So Dan West Jr. able to get in with a great stop, and Jeff Stabnow perhaps was looking for another shot at getting the lead on pit road. Unfortunately, it doesn't go his way this time, as he's going to have his work cut out for him on this restart.
Tyler Kane also having to let trucks on by in the 44 machine. He also missed his box, by the way. So a couple different drivers will come down a second time up on that top pylon. That will shuffle things back to normal. By the way, the result is apparently Jeff Stabnow was making pit stop adjustments when he ran to the back end accidentally in West Jr. So it was not intentional. Can confirm that part. But it's going to be interesting here, and that brings up a good topic. What do you think Stabnow could adjust here to try and get this truck good enough to be able to make a pass on West Jr. on the short run, then hold on in the mid to long run?
He's going to have to get to the bottom as quickly as he possibly can and try to make the bottom lane work. I've been watching him. He wants to make his moves on the bottom, so he needs to be able to hold the bottom on the entire surface of the racetrack, because I've been noticing that where Wes is able to get him is where the 24 is not able to hold the bottom. Even if it's just for half a second, the 55 is able to defend that. So if the 24 wants to get the move, he's going to have to get to the bottom as quickly as possible and make it stick.
So some of the things, Greg, by the way, you can do in the truck adjustments is things such as spring perch adjustments, pardon me on that, tape adjustments. What do you think would be the right call if you were the crew chief right now for Stabnow in terms of adjusting the springs to hold that exact line you want?
Honestly, couldn't tell you. I'm not much of a setup guy myself, so I'm not sure what kind of call that Stabnow would have to make. Just what do you think that would be?
I'll be honest, I'm not too much of the setup guy myself, but of course there's specific adjustments that drivers may have a chart for example, or a crew chief help them along with, or someone to bounce off with that's a teammate who will tell them, if you say, go Same direction towards the right, a couple clicks on the right springs, that lowers the downforce in the back end on the truck at this point. You could also make it where it's a simple adjustment. One click to the right, one click to the left in terms of specific springs. You can end up, say, making it looser on corner entry and tighter on corner exit and vice versa. Many crew chiefs in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series do that, Greg, and that is the reason why you need that a lot of teams stress the importance, Greg, of setup knowledge, even as a driver.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers will work together to get a setup where they like it and then make adjustments to it as they find something for themselves. That's why having a big teammate or a big team that can help you out. But unfortunately for Jeff Stabnow, his teammate Mark Wall is not in the field tonight, so he doesn't necessarily have that knowledge with him this week.
Does have the knowledge up in the noggin, though, that he can rely on. That's the importance of setup knowledge. West Jr., though, the very smart green flag launch, already 3+ truck lanes ahead of the 24, 3 wide for 3rd position.
Oh, and that might not work. Brett Johnson, I believe, might have got into the truck above him, Ryan Maines, as they shoot off into the distance, and Maines had to check up there. That's going to cost him a spot inside the top 5, and Stephen O'Hare is able to get around 2 of those trucks who were 3 wide, going after Devin West right now. The big benefactor of the 3 wide is a guy who wasn't even in the 3 wide. Stephen O'Hare is able to get around all 3 of them. Still fighting off Devin West, though, but what a move by O'Hare to get up into the 3rd spot momentarily.
Side draft a bit from the edge of Devin West, but the black and orange truck of O'Hare, can he get clear? No. West with the better run down the back straightaway. Still defending hard as Devin West side by side for 3rd position as the 41 sends it hard again on the bottom.
Great job by O'Hare to get the fight from Devin West as they go through 3 and 4. West comes fighting back on the outside at the line. It's going to be O'Hare, the Texas winner, going door to door with the Homestead winner as they fight it out for the 3rd spot. O'Hare so much stronger on entry. He's able to clear Devin going into turn 1 and 2 that time, but here comes Devin right back to the inside on the crossover. John Ottenbacher off the track behind him, but look at Devin West trying everything he can to try to get another run at O'Hare. Brett Johnson thought about going with him, but backed out of it. O'Hare able to clear him down the backstretch this time. O'Hare settles in the 3rd.
Now it's a matter of getting into a rhythm here, because as that fight went on, they lost about half a second again. That's been a familiar number to 2nd position on forward on the racetrack. Stabnow and Dan West Jr., 2 of the fastest trucks in the field, 35s last time by. Everyone else was in around the 7s and down.
Let's see how this unfolds as we're in the final stretches of this race now. About 25 or so laps to go in this 140 lap race, and if this race stays green, I believe we have most definitely seen the last pit stop. But if we get another caution, you know everyone's going to come in. But that may or may not have been the money stop for these guys if this race stays green the rest of the way. So how hard do you want to push it right now if you're Stephen O'Hare, if you're Brett Johnson, the guy in 3rd or 4th, not quite up at the lead yet, but you know those guys are racing hard. You're seeing it out your windshield, the battle between Stabnow and Dan West Jr. How hard are you pushing it right now if you're in 3rd place?
Well, the answer lies in the statistics, right, Greg? O'Hare, quickest truck for the past 2 laps since he's pulled away from West, even quicker than leader. So he is pushing to catch up to the back end of that red and white 24. He's still got to close up about 5 truck lanes. The gap between 1st and 2nd is 3 truck lanes for comparison's sake on the circuit. 23 to go this time.
And if O'Hare can just sniff the draft of the 24 of Stabnow, that could help him reel him in quicker than he would just trying to track him down by himself. He's trying to stay in the tire tracks of him to try to catch the draft of the 24. You see Dan West Jr. up there trying to break the draft that Stabnow is getting off the back of the 55 truck. So we're seeing Stabnow try to catch on to the draft of West, and at the same time O'Hare trying to catch the draft of Stabnow.
It almost looks like the way Stabnow set up his truck, it's a little bit quicker in the straightaways, maybe not as quick in the corners, but because of the extra straight line speed with the draft, it allows him to suck on in. That might be a bit of a factor, maybe in that 55 truck's mind to try and pull on away here.
As that might be why he's struggling to pull away in the long or the short run, where we've seen Stabnow definitely has the strength, but once that 24 truck starts losing the grip in the tires and it starts slipping a little bit and that short run speed goes away, the longer the run goes, that could be where Dan West Jr. is able to pull away from the 24 like we've seen throughout the course of the day.
Absolutely. A lot of these drivers have shuffled out single file, but if you go, say, 13th on back, it is a bonanza of traffic. Fletcher with damage. Tillman trying to fight on the top. McClure, that's been trying to make it 2-3 wide. Tom Green, who is slipping and sliding. And mind you, the 7 truck has also tapped the wall, and Brett Johnson just in front of this.
So great battle going on back there. Fletcher, McClure, Tillman, and McClure trying to get himself back up into the top 15. He's in the 15th spot now, going after Casey Tillman. I believe those two are on very similar setups, as I believe the 10 of McClure is kind of working with the likes of Huffines and Tillman on setups. So I believe McClure running a very similar setup to Tillman, albeit probably switched up just a little bit to each driver's preference, as McClure was able to set the pole on that 10 truck, lead the early laps, but unfortunately had a couple of incidents, including one heavy shot to the wall, forced him to use the fast repair, as he's tracking back now in the 14th position, trying to get back up to the 28 of Fletcher for the 13th spot to try to reel him in. So Justin McClure, good recovery, but I think he's going to need more time if he really wants to get back up there.
Fights a hole around the racetrack. Breitzman looking to try and make a move. This has all happened, by the way, as Devin West has made the pass for 3rd. This is the pass right now to try and get to 7th. Thurston way up the racetrack. That's not the line you want to go in. Has to get off the gas. The 46 makes the pass. But keep an eye on the next grouping, because O'Hare, he's dropping and Johnson is picking up the pace.
That hit to the wall did not affect Brett Johnson at all, as he is able to get up into the 4th spot, back into the 4th spot. I believe he's been up as high as possibly 3rd as he gets around O'Hare, but O'Hare not going away as he goes right on the tailgate of the 7, and the battle for the lead heating up in front of this as Jeff Stabnow was able to draft back up to the bumper of Dan West Jr. Battle for the lead, then Devin West falling off by himself, and then the battle for 4th breaking out as Stabnow has lost touch a little bit with Dan West Jr.
Things have spread out a little bit between the leaders by about a car length and a half, truck length and a half, and it's not going to matter. Caution flag is out. Trouble in turn 4, and multiple hits for William Fletcher. We mentioned Fletcher and his left side damage. Well, it looks like the battles eventually led to trouble.
See.
That was McClure who got into him.
And McKinney caught him on the way through, I believe. I believe that was McKinney. We saw someone get him. So here's their look. There's Justin McClure, and right there, just got up into him and gave him another shot to get through. And watch Travis McKinney right there. Unfortunately, nowhere to go for McKinney as Fletcher just kind of spun down there. So a caution is out. Money stop time, Justin.
This is the biggest stop of the race so far. Short run is now the name of the game. Dan West Jr. has been so good off the pit lane throughout this entire race. We'll see, though, who has the best strategy. Mind you, still going to be just above 10 laps to go when we go going back green.
So pit stops unfolding right now. We'll see if Stabnow can get another good stop out of that 24 truck. Between them, Tyler King missed his pit stall, so that's not going to work. Oh, it's going to be a drag race. Look out, Devin West coming up as well. I think Dan West Jr. barely won that one.
Yes, indeed. They were fighting hard to get off the lane first, knowing how vital clean air has been. Dan West Jr. first, Stabnow second, Devin West third, Johnson O'Hare round out the top 5. So drivers in a decent spot. One driver not in the best of spots might be Brightsman, because Brightsman did have to let by a couple trucks. In fact, he'll let by a lot more trucks. The 46 caught speeding.
Tough break for Sean Brightsman. Had fought so hard to get himself back into that position, and now late in the going on perhaps the final pit stop of the day, gets caught speeding on pit road and now has to do it all over again with about 10 laps of green flag racing to go, give or take. Not going to be easy.
And here's the difficulty now in the strategy game. If you get a caution precaution situation, it can get difficult, because this is one of the most difficult tracks you will ever start a race on if you're on old tires, because of how drastic tire spin can be at Atlanta.
And we saw it earlier, how it wasn't so much a tire spin, but more a slide from Jeff Stabnow. Slid the tires and lost a lot of ground to Dan West Jr. And we've seen every single stop has been 4 tires, regardless of who is out there. So no doubt Dan West Jr. wanting these 4 fresh tires to last as long as possible. And if he spins the tires on this restart, that could be disastrous for him right around the time the white flag falls.
Still lined up behind the pace car rather, at this point. Keep in mind, there's a couple drivers who have quietly snuck their way into the top 10 on that top pylon. John Ottenbacher is in 6th position as this is all cycled through. Justin McClure, despite the contact, remember, had to use a fast repair for a blown motor, is in 8th position. Thurston is still holding on to 9th because the time of the caution flag, and Paulison is in the 10th position. Keep an eye on the lights on the pace car this time by. They are going to go out. 1 to go this time by. 12 laps to decide it, Greg.
Shootout time in Hot Atlanta. And a guy that I'm going to keep my eyes on through the course of this green flag run, Devin West. We've been so focused on Dan West Jr. and Jeff Stabnow, their battle for the lead that's been going on for a majority of the second half of this race. Devin West has quietly been riding in the 3rd position, and every time he's fallen back a couple spots, he just goes to work, puts his work gloves on, and gets it back. So watch out for the 16 on the short run. We know he's got some short run speed. He was able to go from 12th to 4th in 5 laps at the start of the race. Sorry, 12th to 8th, not 12th to 4th. He was able to go 4 spots in 5 laps. So we know the 16 has short run speed. He might be in position to steal one.
Keep in mind, Dan West Jr. currently coming into tonight in a tie for 5th on the all-time series wins list with 4 career victories. Can he get a 5th as well as be the first multi-time winner of the season? We're about to find out. 12 laps to decide it. On the inside, West Jr. on the outside. Stabnow. This time he stacks him. Green flag is out. We're backing away. And a bit of tire spin.
And Ryan Maines caught up involved with some other drivers. I think we were all able to keep it going, but the big loser there is Ryan Maines. He has a lot of damage to the right side of that 13 truck and the back.
And a few trucks have to move to the bottom side, because if you make a pass on the left side of that truck, you potentially get a black flag. It looks like Thurston might have been in that situation. Fight, though, is on for 2nd. Stabnow is under attack. Devin West is on the outside. Side by side, 11 laps to decide it.
Stephen O'Hare right there in the catbird seat if something happens with the 24 and the 16. West coming fighting back on the outside, but Stabnow able to make the inside lane work. He clears Devin West for now. Oh, what a big slide off turn number 4. Huge slide out of the 24. He saves it, but that's going to cost him a lot of ground.
What a save by Stabnow to keep it off the inside wall, but that loses him a ton of positions. All the way back to 5th, make it 6th as Justin McClure now tries to make the pass on the high side. Just can't get clear, as 2nd on back is still a good 8/10 back of Dan West Jr.
McClure able to clear Stabnow, move Justin McClure back into the top 5 after fighting his way back with damage. Oh, and a shove from Jeff Stabnow off of turn number 2. Gets McClure loose. Stabnow trying to get back up into the top 5, but McClure fights him off. Boy, Jeff Stabnow has been trying to get back up there all laps since getting passed by McClure, and he's not going away as he falls into the clutches of Corey Walters and Tyler King. Here comes Stabnow to the inside. Tyler King with a big run through the tri-oval. Stabnow inside of McClure, gets the nose in front into turn number 1. Has King and Walters with him. Stabnow back in the 5th, and McClure could be hung out to dry on the outside as King and Walters follow suit.
McClure nearly hit the left rear quarter panel through 1 and 2. That led to the slide of the racetrack. Look who, though, is back into 6th position. It's Tyler King. He's back into contention with his fast repair used.
Tyler King with a good run through the tri-oval last time to follow through what Stabnow was able to do.
Oh, big time trouble in turn 1. Caution flag is out. Brightsman involved. Onenbacher also involved. Frank Harris spun around in the corner. Ricketts also involved, and now it gets interesting after big-time trouble in the battle between Maines and Harris.
Oh, man, what happened there? Ryan Maines was down in the grass and just shot up the track right in front of Frank Harris and caught him right in the door, and it collected a big number of trucks there. What happened there?
Looks like they made contact with the start and finish line and boop right on back. What goes down on the track eventually comes up.
And oh man, that is not how these guys wanted their day to end. Some contact between Harris and Maines, and saw them there fighting on the steering wheel to keep it pegged down low. Just unfortunately, truck was just too far gone at that point.
And many others had to slide to the grass. Brightsman got a bit of horseshoe now into the 11th position. We do have a few retirements as this is all progressed. Gary Nichols, William Fletcher, James Thurston now done for the race with the caution flag at this moment. Of course, also done for the earlier tonight, Huffines, Vining, Malik. Will anyone pit? No. 4th on forward stays out, but Stabnow did pit.
And you have to imagine that everybody behind Stabnow will pull in behind them. So the top 4 staying out. And Justin, as they come in, do you think anyone's going to try the 2-tire stop here? It might work out, but I don't know with the 4 trucks staying out, just for some track position.
I mean, we ran 5 laps at the same time. It's Atlanta. It's always tricky on 2. Stabnow did take 2. You called it right on the money. He's the first off the pit lane.
Might be just saying, hey, you know what? 2 tires might be just enough to get me there, but it looks like he might be the only one who tries the 2-tire stop. So Stabnow hoping that it works out. I think he may have been hoping one other truck tried it.
Dan Lowther did try it, but I don't know. I don't even know about the call of the driver staying out even with a few laps on the tires here. Because again, tire spin can be a major factor here on this restart with under 5 laps to go. And some of these drivers, remember, had to use fast repairs, including West Jr. with the contact he had on the pit lane a couple cautions ago.
So Jeff Stabnow channeling his inner Sean Brightsman. Looks like a couple more drivers further back perhaps stayed out. Or no, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the standings wrong there. Stabnow.
So here's the situation to reset as these drivers now have 5 to go, coming to 4 to go. The drivers who stayed out, Dan West Jr., Devin West, O'Hare, Johnson, Walters, Jennings, and Burke all stayed out. Then Stabnow on 2 tires in 8th, McClure on 4 in 9th, Lowther in 10th is on 2. Everybody else took 4 tires on the racetrack. So in other words, this is going to be very unpredictable, what we're about to see here when the green flag drops in what appears to be a 3-lap shootout.
So, Justin, this begs a question. With Stabnow being in the 8th position, he's going to start on the outside of row number 4 for this restart. If you're the only driver on 2 tires and everybody behind you has 4, where would you rather start if you were Stabnow? He's going to start on the outside, but is that where you want to be, or would you rather be on the inside?
I mean, we've seen all race long, Greg. The inside line has been the line on the restarts. I think even on the 2 tires, I'd still prefer the inside as a driver, but he's going to be in a spot now where if there's a hole, he needs to fill it, and quickly, as they'll now line up for the 1 to go signal. 3-lap shootout to decide it from Hotlanta.
So here we go, shootout time, and with the amount of trucks that stayed out, I don't know if Stabnow has enough time, but we'll see.
I don't know if anyone on the 4 tires has enough time either. Here's the thing. Anything can happen when the green flag flies. Remember, they only turn about 4 or 5 green flag laps on the 7 drivers who did stay out, and they're Goodyear Eagles.
We'll see. 7 drivers on old tires, but not necessarily old per se. Just 5 green flag laps on them. Then we got Jeff Stabnow, the only driver on 2, and then everyone else back there on the lead lap has 4. So various strategies, and wouldn't you know it, a Northwest Racing Series event coming down the strategy at the end.
Buckle up, folks. It's going to be a wild one to finish things off at Atlanta Motor Speedway. West Jr., the control truck. His son, Devin, on the high side. Pace car makes its way to the pit lane. Decides to stack it. Green flags out. Back on her way. Multiple trucks, Bobo and Weave. Everyone stays clean. 3 to go.
Damn, us, you're able to get away. Stabnow kind of pinned behind the 111 of Jennings, keeping our eyes on...
Oh, trouble in the back of the field. Caution flag is coming out because Timothy Ricketts in 21st position got tangled up with the 62 in a 4-wide move. What in the world happened to the 62? It looked like that Rick Heffley had major engine damage and ended up getting squished.
Taking a look on the LSR TV replay.
Yet, see how much he didn't get going here, and then there's 4 wide here.
Man, oh man. And Timothy Ricketts had such a good run going, but the second half of the race has just been a disaster for that 43 truck. I believe that's his 3rd on-track accident he's been involved with. So let's rack him up and try it again, Justin.
We're in green white checker territory, first of 2 attempts to reset things for those tuning in for the first time for an iRacing event. In the event of a green white checker, you must take the white flag for the race to be official. If we get a caution flag within the first lap under the restart condition, we'll go to a second attempt. If we get another caution within 1 lap after the second green white checkered attempt, the race is official and will end under caution. In other words, the goal: get a clean start again, and then take the white flag, especially if you're Dan West Jr., who has been the truck to beat all night.
West Jr. hoping he has one more good restart in him to try to lead this field around, get 1 lap in, cross the finish line, and then just hope and hold on for as long as he possibly can. His son, Devin, is going to give his father a run for his money, though. Homestead winner, no doubt. Is going to be looking for his 2nd win of the season, but his father's looking for win number 2 also, as is the guy in 3rd, Stephen O'Hare, the Texas winner. We got 3 drivers in the top 3 who are looking for their 2nd win of the season. Then you got Brett Johnson up there in 4th trying to break through for his 1st win of the season. This is very interesting. A lot of storylines here up in the top of this field.
Lucky dog is Dana Rogers, who is now 4 laps down the racetrack. That was the old truck you seen pass on by here. Keep in mind as well, some of the drivers who did stay out on this racetrack were playing the major track position game. Corey Walters, one of those drivers who is still in the top 5 because of that strategy call. He's in P number 5. And it's going to be interesting to see what he can do on those older tires when we go back rain.
We'll see how it goes. An up and down night for that 111 of Steve Jennings. Jeff Stabnow, the driver on 4 tires, was able to gain, or 2 tires, I'm sorry, was able to gain 1 spot on that initial restart. He got around the damaged 53 of Carl Berg. So now he's going to be on the inside. And Justin, you mentioned on 2 tires on that last restart, you still wanted to be on the inside. Now he's got it, but he's got about half a lap of green flag use on those right sides. Do you think that's enough to play in, or do you think those tires are still relatively fresh?
I think they're relatively fresh though, Greg. And remember, when it came to the new tire model, when it came out a few months ago, tire heat cycles played into a major factor for strategies for some of the top teams in all of iRacing. I think he's in a decent spot since those tires have a little more heat into them, since that is such an important thing for short run pace.
We'll see, and we already saw the speed that Jeff Stabnow has on the short run. Green-white checkered, though, he's going to need a lot of help to try to get up from 7th to the lead. I think Stabnow made that move thinking that a couple more trucks were going to come in the pit road behind him. I think he was banking on the only trucks staying out were the trucks that were initially in front of him on that restart, those being West, O'Hare, and Johnson.
1 to go signal given on the racetrack to reset your top 10. Dan West Jr., Devin West in row 1, O'Hare and Johnson in row 2, Walters and Jennings row number 3, Stabnow McClure row 4, Burke and McKinney in row 5. In trouble!
Not sure what just happened to the 111 of Jennings.
That had to be a major mistake. It looked like he was trying to heat up the tires and just absolutely spun it.
Just snapped around on him, trying to get the heat cycle going, and yeah. Wow.
No delay of green, so looking like we may still take the green flag here for the GWC. Now this is going to get interesting for the drivers who were about 10th on backs after what just happened with some of the drivers having to take evasive action, a couple making contact in that situation. Leaders, though, focused on getting the green flag. Pace car is off. West Jr. onto the gas. Green flag, we're backing away. And a great launch for Dan West Jr. onto the bottom side. His son Devin West looking to close the gap. O'Hare on the bottom side as everyone else single files out about 7th on forward. 2-3 wide in the back of the pack. Coming towards the white flag this time. Devin West has a problem. He's made contact with Johnson. Johnson's off in the grass. Both cars save it. The leader, though, gets the white flag. The race is official as they crash at the start and finish line. Devin West and multiple others are stacked up at the start and finish line, while Dan West Jr. looks to hold on. O'Hare tries to close the gap under 0.2 of a second. Off the final corner, Dan West Jr. becomes the first multi-race winner of the season. He wins it at Atlanta. Let's take a look at what just happened with the Devin West. You see him bobble around, collect Johnson, and then the big one at the start and finish line. Devin West completely lost grip, it seemed, in 3 and 4. While others, such as Brightsman, just absolutely dodged it by cutting through the grass to come away with the top 10. But for the 5th time in his career in the Northwest Truck Series, it is Dan West Jr. who comes away with the victory. That moves him into sole possession of 5th all-time in the series' history in victories. Burn it down, Dan Weston. Brightsman sends him to the moon. Good time to look at your unofficial race results on that note, as Dan West Jr. wins his second race of the season. O'Hare comes home in second, with Walters coming home in third tonight. Stabnow came home in fourth, with McClure rounding out the top five. McKinney comes home sixth. Carl Burke comes home in seventh. Dan Lowther comes home eighth, with Brightsman and Jennings rounding out the top 10. Ryan Maines came home 11th, with Tyra King in 12th. At one point was backwards coming to the white flag. Heffley comes home in 13th. Tom Green, Brett Johnson round out the drivers on the lead lap. Rest of the field one lap down or more. John Onenbacher, Ray Fournier, Stephen Paulison, Devin West, Frank Harris in the top 20. Dan Rogers also ended up in 22nd and behind Timothy Ricketts. Rogers was the first driver, multiple laps down, 4 laps down. Tillman 12 laps down, 23rd. Thurston 24th. Fletcher a DNF in 25th. 26th Nichols. Huffines, Vining, Malik round out the drivers who started. A DNS for Travis Barnes, who was the quickest in practice at one point earlier tonight. That's a look at your unofficial race results for tonight's action for the Northwest Racing Truck Series. What a finish and what a win for Dan West Jr. We'll take a step aside. We come back post-race coverage on LSR TV here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for tonight's Clan War Servers post-race show, the official communication partner of LSR TV. It was a thrower tonight from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Dan West Jr. comes home with his second victory of the season, but let's start with our third place finisher, Corey Walters. Sneaks his way into the top 3. Corey, you started in 25th, you come home third. How does it feel?
It feels pretty good, man. It was a tough race. I mean, track just eats the rubber, and it's hard to have a little bit of strategy, but it worked tonight, so I'm happy.
Talk us through the final restart of the race, because at one point you were in 5th position, one of the drivers who stayed out, then trouble was a foot in front of you.
Yeah, I barely missed it. Oh, that wasn't the part I was worried about. It was Stabnow. He was all up on my bumper. I knew he had fresh tires, and I was just able to hold him off there to the line. It was pretty good racing.
How'd you set up your truck for tonight? Were you more focused on the short run, the mid run, or the long run? And how did you try and balance that out to differentiate the weaknesses for the specific parts of the run?
Honestly, it was set up more for like a mid-run, but I mean, after about 30 or 40 laps, it really started falling off to where I had to brake before every turn. But yeah, I just kept adding tape to it all night and made it faster. And that's pretty much all I did. I didn't mess with the air pressures or anything. So yeah, it worked out well. I'm pretty happy about it.
Now, next race on the calendar comes after an off week, and how comfortable are you with road courses, specifically the Charlotte Roval, because that's your next scheduled race attempt, 55 laps.
I actually like it. I ran it a lot last year and started placing well in the Cup car anyway. I don't know. It's just like anything else. You run it enough and you'll get used to it, and you'll find speed after a while. Yeah, I don't mind road courses. I like Watkins Glen, can't stand Sonoma, and the Roval's kind of in between that.
Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys up in the booth. You do a heck of a job. I watch you every night while I race. I want to thank Jeff and those guys for setting this thing up every week. They do a job. And I want to thank all the other drivers too, because it was a pretty decent race. A lot of close racing, a lot of give and take. And yeah, that's where I want to be.
Looks like the fun race from up here in the booth as well. Congratulations to the top 3.
Thanks.
That's Corey Walters coming home in 3rd position. My co-announcer tonight in Greg Rentz is standing by with Stephen O'Hare.
Yeah, Stephen O'Hare, Greg Rentz, LSR TV. You got a copy?
I do, yeah. It's Stephen O'Hare.
Yes.
Oh, my apologies, Stefan. Stefan, up and down night for you here tonight. You started off with a strong run, started up in the top 5, got some damage on the 41 truck and had to pit, but made your way back up through the field and then comes home in a second. So tell us about the roller coaster you went on here tonight.
Yeah, I felt like we had a decent qualifying run there, and then I think the 10 got a little loose, and I couldn't get checked up in time and had just enough front-end damage that my temperature started to skyrocket. So I figured it was best to come down and get that repaired and try to not fall too far behind. So that worked out, and then it was just a matter of trying to save tires, trying to be a little bit aggressive, and work my way back up and get some track position.
Well, you were able to work your way back up, and you were kind of flirting in and out of the podium through the last third of the race, but just talk us through what you saw out your windshield during that green-white checkered and as you were able to make it through there.
Yeah, I figured the 55 and the 16 were probably going to have a pretty good jump on the start there, and I got a decent run off of 2 and got in the inside of Devin there, and we made contact, and that's not at all what I wanted to happen. So, I apologize to him, but we just didn't have anything for the 55 there. Dan's pretty quick, and so I'm just glad that I got to see the lead for a little bit.
Well, you come home tonight with the 2nd place and a good follow-up to your Texas win a few weeks ago, and that's got to help you build some momentum going into these next few races.
Yeah, absolutely. Bristol was a little difficult for us, but I'm pretty excited going into the season. We've been running pretty well, so looking forward to battling it out with those guys.
All right, well, we'll let you go celebrate a 2nd place, but before we do, we know you got some shout-outs you want to give.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys, LSR TV. It's really fun watching not just the Northwest races, but the other stuff that you guys do, and then of course the Northwest Racing Series. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of great guys, and so just grateful for that. I'd also like to, I guess, give a shout out to Tyler King for painting me a pretty fast looking 41 pickup truck.
All right, 2nd place, Stephen O'Hare. Great comeback after not going your way there early, but a great comeback. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I believe Justin Prince has gone down the victory lane where he's caught up with the first repeat winner of 2020, Dan West Jr.
Yes, indeed. He put on a clinic tonight. Fastest lap of the race, a 34.45. 126 laps led in total tonight out of the 144 attempted. Dan, first things first, how does it feel to not only be the first multi-race winner of the campaign, but also move into 5th all-time in the series' history in wins?
Wow, that feels pretty good, man. It was a good race. I hope you guys enjoyed it up there. Old Stab now, he definitely made it interesting.
Absolutely did. What was going through your mind is at one point you had to try and pass him after Stabnow had that good pit stop sequence. How was that truck trying to fight to try and retake the lead in dirty air compared to the clean air you had much of the night?
Well, it's kind of interesting. I overshot my pit, and then that's when he got the jump on me out of the pit area, and we got that restart going, and I he got a good run out there, and I was able to reel him in and get by him. But then as soon as I got by him, he was all over me again. So I think the clean air is what I wanted, obviously. I wanted to get to the lead, even though I was going to have to use up the tires a little bit, but I wanted that lead position for the restarts. But Jeff was really fast, and it'd been interesting to see what that green-white checker would have looked like.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, Stabnow ended up having to come down the pit lane, took 2 tires. He still came home at 4th, by the way. But in terms of how your truck was tonight, how much work did you put in to try and make this truck fast tonight, you and your son, for your team?
We worked pretty hard, actually. Put a lot of time in, and obviously other people did too, because there was probably what I'm guessing, from what I could see in the mirror, was 5 to 7 trucks that were all under a blanket, and it was pretty impressive how much work people put in, and it was pretty cool. It's getting to be a pretty competitive series.
It definitely looked competitive out there, but you had the strongest truck tonight. But after a week break next week, the next event, you're going road course racing. Charlotte Roval, your thoughts on the Roval?
I don't like them. I'm horrible.
So how much work are you about to put in to try and make sure you're ready for the Roval then, to try and be not horrible?
Yeah, you can only imagine. Yeah, I need to put some work in. Maybe old Brightsman, he's pretty good at these deals. Maybe he can hook me up and show me the way around these oval track or these road courses. So he's really good at the Roval. I expect him to be the one to beat, but we'll definitely try hard. We'll definitely put the work in.
Anyone you want to thank before we let you go?
Oh, yeah, LSR TV, Cody, Greg, Justin, I appreciate what you guys do. You guys are awesome up there. Effective Web Solutions, Northwest Racing Series is incredible. It's getting better every week. And thanks to all the admins and people involved in keeping the series going. Thank you very much.
Congratulations on the victory tonight. This is also going to help your points lead you had entering tonight, by the way, Dan. Congrats.
Thanks, guys.
That was Dan West Jr. coming home with the victory tonight. His second of the campaign. His first came at Rockingham. And both of those tracks, very abrasive surfaces. Greg, what are your final thoughts before we take a week off of the series and then head to the Roval? Great final thoughts. But we'd like to thank you for tuning in for tonight's coverage here on LSR TV for what was some fun action for the Northwest Truck Series. I'd like to thank you as well for sticking around for the Clan Wars Servers post-race show from Atlanta Motor Speedway. Next race on the campaign takes place on April the 30th for the Charlotte Roval 125, 55 laps, 125 miles. You can catch that live on LSR TV starting at 11:40 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 8:40 p.m. Pacific Time. With that, it's time to say goodbye. For Craig Rentz, for our producer Charles Wooden, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your night. You've been watching LSR TV, your home for sim racing.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.